Hey guys, welcome to the Movie Talk by Cinema Scenes. My name is Dee and thank you for listening my movie podcast. I hope I will have you back each week for more movie talk, or if you really like my podcast, we can do this even more often. Whatever you guys prefer, let me know. So, click the like button if you enjoy this podcast and please subscribe for notifications when new episodes come out. Anyways, let's dive into today's topics. I'm going to talk about Eternals and review the movie, but also share some honest thoughts about it, what is going on with this movie, and why so much negativity around it. I will also talk about Halloween Kills, reviewing that movie, even though it has been a while since it came out, but still I have some thoughts about it and I would like to share with you guys. And finally, we will touch up on the new Spider Man movie trailer, specifically about one particular scene from the trailer that caught my attention and intrigued my imagination. So stick around, alright? You can see the chapters in the timeline and skip to the what interests you the most, or you can listen the entire episode. It will be interesting overall, I promise you that. Let's start with our first topic, and that's Eternals. Now, I've seen this movie last week and I have a lot to talk about. Again, this will not be a classic review, but things about this movie that I find highly interesting. Eternals was my number one anticipated movie of the year, and not only because it's my favorite genre of superhero movies, after all, there was a Black Widow and Shang-Chi earlier this year, and the new Spider-Man movie is coming up very soon. I mean, in a few weeks. So, which is, by the way, my second most anticipated movie of the year. But I knew that Eternals are a very special movie in the MCU, and for Disney, and for superhero movies genre, and even for blockbuster movies in general. I feel that this movie stayed under the radar this entire time. Audience that doesn't know Marvel and MCU doesn't pay much attention for upcoming movies anyway, unless fandom gets the buzz around and build up the hype. And the MCU fandom that does have the power or influence to hype the upcoming movie didn't show any interest for Eternals to do so. And this lack of interest, or as I would like to call it, a purposely avoiding to create a discussion about this, to me was very revealing in what will happen to this movie once it hits cinemas. When Kevin Feige announced the movie in 2019 with all these huge movie stars and the biggest ensemble cast, it was shocked how little discussion that announcement generated. It really was shocking. And one of the reasons being, in general, lack of knowledge about Eternals, but the other was controversial characters. Kevin Feige deliberately took the less known characters, which couldn't cause audience and fans to go on an outrage because of race bending and gender bending or sexuality bending. And he didn't want to risk some beloved Marvel characters to get that hate, so he geniusly threw Eternals into the lion pit, knowing that this movie is a very, very high risk. Many people believe that Disney and Marvel are in shock and surprised by the hateful reviews, low cinema scores, and internet negativity towards this movie. But I beg to differ. This is exactly what they expected, or even better than they expected. I mean, don't underestimate Kevin Feige. He wanted to show how MCU is the leader and groundbreaker in introducing minority representatives in the big superhero movie, and he did all in one movie. He tested and broke all the stereotypes these type of movies represented so far. First of all, casting movie stars, actresses like Angelina Jolie and Selma Hayek, who are also over 40 years old, which is almost unheard of in this genre, and a big issue in Hollywood for actresses from the beginning of motion pictures, I would say. Selma Hayek is 55, and she was mentioning in interviews about this movie how surprised and proud she is hired at her age for movie this size and to play a superhero. I mean, no 55-year-old actress was ever cast in the leading superhero movie ever, as far as I know. MCU is also known for casting young actors, and from the business perspective, it makes sense. I mean, considering that MCU characters live for many years and over several movies, and the studio wants to make sure that these actors look like they are not aging much in the process, because the plot of these movies, even though it can be 10 years apart in a real life, movie to movie, like from the first Iron Man to the end game, it was 10 years of aging Robert Downey Jr. and other actors there. But in the cinematic universe, the story can happen all in 1 or 2 years. So how characters look like, it's important. It's very important from the business perspective. Of course, they want to keep those actors in the shape and in the form they got hired for as long as possible. There is also in the movie in Eternals, there is also a leading superhero character who is deaf, and this is also for the first time ever that we get a superhero character who is deaf. Uh, then we have an Indian or Pakistani leading superhero in the Hollywood blockbuster for the first time ever, ever. And it's 2021. Come on. But the biggest shock of all, a leading superhero that is not only overweight, but a black man who is gay. And let's not stop at that. He is not only gay on paper, he is a family man who lives with his Muslim gay husband, raising a son together. Can you get more shocking than that? Oh, yes, it can. They share a romantic scene together and kiss on the big screen. What? So let's start over again. Are you really surprised by outrageously low score and all the hate? Are you? Really? Because I'm not. And I'm sure that Disney and Kevin Feige are not either. They wanted to be the first to do this, as Feige always do, and they did it in all in one movie. So now they can go back to their old ways of doing things and for a while have that card up their sleeve when someone is asking about representation in their movies. I mean, we are progressive and liberal. Look what we gave you, the Eternals. What more do you people want? That can be one of the answers, right? And possible answer. We spend a lot of this money knowing we will not get it back to show you how accepting we are here at Disney. I feel that Eternals seems more like a brilliant PR investment than a movie. And who is traditionally brilliant in marketing and PR? Well, Disney, of course. So let's get back to the actual movie. With all the prejudice and hate aside, I mean, it is a good movie. I'm not saying it's the best or even my favorite MCU movie. I mean, Infinity War still wears that crown, and I believe it's going to wear it for a long, long time. But I can say that I watched it twice, The Eternals, and I will be coming back to this movie in the future for sure. I mean, I will watch and rewatch this movie for many times in the next year or when it comes out on streaming or where I can watch it on my laptop. For sure, I will watch it again and again. There's brilliance about this movie. I rank my movies for the rewatchability factor, which means that it is movies entertaining enough and also it wakes emotions. And that's why Infinity War is still my number one movie ever because it was highly entertaining with all the characters popping in and then all the action scenes and then just how the movie was created. And then it's the most emotional movie out of all MCU movies because I don't know if I should spoil this. I mean, at this point, this is one of the highest grossing movies ever in the history of cinema. So I'm sure everybody saw it at one point or heard about it. So this is very unique movie. But Eternals are also a very unique movie, and isn't that what any form of art should be? To entertain you and to bring out some sort of emotions in you. I can say this: no Black Widow or Shang-Chi, even though they are fun movies, made me feel like I need to see it more than once. And I didn't. I had fun time with them, and that was it. But Eternals does. I mean, I've seen it twice already. And if I'm to rank this movie on my MCU list, deciding on that, it definitely comes in the top five. Definitely. Yes, there are many things I wish are done differently in this movie, like character development, both for good guys and bad guys. I want to know more about each of these characters. Well, not each of them, to be honest, but most of them. I want to know more about their past and definitely would love to see their future. I mean, they're very, very deep and interesting characters with history. Special effects and visuals are top of the art in this movie. I mean, absolutely brilliant, creative action scenes. Just stunning, stunning, really. Visually, absolutely stunning. Acting is fantastic with majority of the cast. It's conflicting and emotional, just like the story itself. There are 10 lead actors in this movie, and besides Cersei, which was the weakest and the most bland character, and Sprite, which was the most annoying character, all the others were marvelous. Selma Hayek as Ajax was absolutely brilliant. I mean, her performance left me speechless. I did not expect that. I mean, Selma Hayek should, besides Frida, I believe this is her best work in this movie. She was fantastic. I mean, really, really, you need to watch her performance in this movie. Really, she was magnificent. Angelina Jolie as Tina was everything you expect from Angelina Jolie. I mean, the acting, the action, and the out of the world beauty that she possessed. I mean, everything, and she posed like no one other, and it just Angelina Jolie deserves every penny they paid her. I mean, she's brilliant in every movie, and she her range is gigantic. I don't know how to describe. I mean, everything about her is perfect, and she delivers. She delivers every time, no matter the genre, no matter the action, whatever she's asked for. I mean, she delivers, and she delivers in this movie gigantically. Icarus, played by James Maiden, is radiating power from the scene, from the screen. I mean, and it blew me away. It just like when he shows up, it's not just his powers are cool. I mean, his one power. Maybe few powers. I mean, he can fly and he can do laser beams from his eyes, but it's not that. I mean, we've seen that we've seen those powers before in some other movies with some other characters, but it's just when he's on the screen and when he's using these powers, it's just mind blowing how powerful he feels, and you can really in the audience you can actually feel his power and his strength. And the only comparison and the only time I felt like one of these superhero actors did this before was Scarlet Witch. Wanda was the only other character besides Icarus in MCU that can actually blow you away with her powers and how she's using it on the screen. It just That's why I love her so much. It's just fantastic character. My favorite couple, Druid and Makari, gave such a performance that even though it's only in a couple of scenes, they completely stole the spotlight from all the other actors. The beautiful, I mean, Druid is. I have no words to explain. It's just perfect. And both the characters on their own are very interesting and they're very different, but together they really have chemistry and they have this connection that can really feel on the screen, and it was just a pleasure to watch them. And finally, the one that I want to talk about is Kingo. Kingo compensated his powers, which were not so special. I mean, he kind of shoots laser beams or like balls of power to the enemy, and it was like okay, and medium power, not so much impressive, and not so much visual also, but also they took his character from the beginning and until the end. They took his character in a very strange direction, and he doesn't fit his story, he fits. He as a character fits with other characters from Eternals, but his story is it doesn't fit with everybody else. The way he started in the movie and what he was doing at the moment, and the way he leaves the movie, and the fight and everything. So it was very strange and very hard, I believe, to pull off this storyline and this character. But Kumal Nanjiani did it perfectly. He had all the funny lines, and it was hilarious. And of course, because he's comedian, he delivered perfectly. It was I really laughed out loud, like the entire theater laughed out loud to most of his scenes and his jokes and his sidekick. So generally, I love characters. I really love the movie. I love the characters. I loved 90% of everything there. And of course, the plot and the stories that are mentioned, they were not developed enough. There was no time. I mean, the movie is 2.5 hours long, but still, there's 10 characters, and they like thousands of years old, and they've been through all the humanity history. And of course, there's not enough time. Even for one character, it would be challenging to cover all this range. But I believe they did with what they got. They did a good job. A good job. You can really connect. At least someone can connect to at least one other person, Eternal from Eternals, to and then just identify with them. And speaking of that, let's go back to that representation that I mentioned before. I mean, that deserves respect from every decent human being. I mean, that range of representation in the movie is unprecedented. It's just amazing. In the movie of this scope, it's just fantastic. Just on representation alone and how important it is to all of these oppressed groups that finally get to see one of them, one of one who looks like them or acts like them or who is like them in the movie like this blockbuster superhero movie deserves 9 out of 10 at least. I mean, you really have to be very petty and malicious human being to say, "Oh, I watched this movie subjectively and I didn't like it." And even if you watch it subjectively, you should appreciate this movie and get a much higher score than it has at the moment. But even if it's not a good movie, representation and this groundbreaking moment in cinema history should be rewarded. That's my feeling. And in this movie shouldn't just be observed as a subjective one in a million Hollywood movies. I mean, this movie did something, and I don't care is it PR or whatever it is, but it did something to cinema history that deserves respect. When I put all the great things about this movie and all the mistakes that were inevitable in a movie like this, of course, The Eternals ranks very high on every scale. I want to say every scale, from acting, directing, budget, performance, special effects. I mean, every category they checked. They checked every single category. And even though I'm sure this movie is one-time shot from MCU and Disney, and regardless of mid-credit scene that promised the continuation of Eternal Story, I'm sure there will be no sequel for this movie, at least not for now. I mean, I believe they put this mid-credit scene just to a little bit hype the movie for guys to go and watch, but they never actually intended to make a sequel because they knew that Disney and Marvel, Foggy, they knew that this movie is gonna flop. They knew this movie is gonna be too controversial, and it's gonna be very tricky to pull it off. Many countries don't even want to play this movie because of this representation of minorities. So there was money lost from the start. Not to mention, again, there was no hype intentionally from the fandom about this movie. And so I highly doubt there's going to be a sequel. There's nothing. I mean, we saw the announcement for the next 2 3 years, what's coming up on Disney Plus and MCU cinematic universe, and there's no Eternals anywhere in near future. And but I don't know, some delusional part of me is still hoping to see it someday. And that's I don't know, is it realistic or is it not? You guys tell me, you guys share, would you like to see this movie again, sequel, and what kind of sequel that would be? Is it going to be merged with some other superheroes from MCU, like, I don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy, or something else, or should we say stay on its own? And what else? What else? What else do you guys think about this movie? And please share your thoughts. Share your own review in the comments. I would love to read that. And what are your favorite? You can rank your favorite characters from Eternals. Who was your favorite? Who was your least favorite, and why? And please feel free to go ahead and do that in the comment section. Now, let's move to our next movie we're going to talk about, and that is Halloween Kills of 2021. It's an American slasher film directed by David Gordon Green, and of course, it's a sequel to 2018's Halloween, and it should be like a trilogy, but overall, I believe Halloween Kills is like a 12th installment in the franchise, going all the way back to 1978 when the first movie came out. That's a long time. That's a very respectful franchise, I believe. And the film stars, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis and James Jude Courtney, who reprised their roles as Laurie and Michael Myers. And of course, Judy Greer was fantastic, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Halloween Kills had its world premiere at the 78th Venice Film Festival on September this year. And this was delayed, of course. The premiere was delayed because of COVID and pandemic, and so they pushed for this year and this Halloween season. And at the same time, it's streamed on Peacock for 60 days, so you could watch it theaters in cinema, or you could watch it in your home. But it was everywhere. And again, film received. I don't like to talk about critics, especially now after I talk about Eternals and how you shouldn't really pay attention to what critics says and what critics. I mean, some movie you would love, and God knows why someone don't like the movie, because it's art and it's very subjective, and I don't think we don't grade classic art, or something like paintings and the music, and movies shouldn't be. I mean, yes, there should be critics, and not everybody are capable of providing a good movie or good performance, but still, I mean, don't be too harsh on this. And it was the same with Halloween Kills. It was mixed critics reviews and all these things around the movie and about the franchise, but I actually enjoyed it. I liked it, and I liked some part, and some other part I didn't like. So we're gonna talk about that as well. There's another sequel, because again, this is trilogy, and there's Halloween Ends, that should kind of close this story and be finale of this story, and that one should be released next year in October of 2022 for the next Halloween season. And unless again some terrible pandemic or some volcano erupts or something happens to this humanity that we're living, and so we do never get to see it, the end of Halloween. This is also the sixth time that Jamie Lee Curtis reprised her role as Laurie. Out of 12 movies, she was in six so far, right? So let's start with things I liked about this movie when I mentioned Jamie Lee Curtis. And who cannot love Jamie Lee Curtis? I mean, she's a legend. She's a queen. She is the original Scream Queen. And she's so charismatic, and she's such a brilliant actress, and still giving the best performance of her life even today. And I believe, I believe really that her and Sigourney Weaver deserve all the praise and glory. And it's still unbelievable that neither of them got an Oscar. I mean, with those careers, Sigourney Weaver was nominated three times, by the way, and but Curtis was never even nominated for it. I guess that has something to do with the choice of movies they they make. Curtis is more like action or comedy, like True Lies, and then Freaky Friday, and then these Knives Out was also fantastic. And then, so she tends to go more towards these movies, which are not very popular with Oscar audience. But Weaver was nominated 3 times, and she really does those kind of Oscar type of movies, but she never won. And I believe both of them should have at least honorary Oscars for what they did to the movie industry and how many brilliant movies they both made, and they will stay in the history of cinema forever. So I digressed a little bit, but I had to say that. And with that being said, I think Jamie Lee Curtis was good in this movie. She wasn't the center of the plot. She was kind of sidelined a bit, but I'm guessing this movie was a setup for the third and final movie, Halloween Ends. And that should come out next year, as I said, and I'm expecting like a full on Laurie and Myers showdown in that one. So this movie is like a middle movie in trilogy, and this was done even before with other trilogies and franchises. They make this one movie that is just like kind of setup. They're setting up the characters, or they're like killing off some not important characters, the world building and all these things. And but smartly, Halloween did this thing in the middle of the movie, in the second one, in this one, not like most of the people, and I don't know when they will learn, are doing that in the first movie. They plan this trilogy or they plan this franchise, and then they do this setup thing in the first movie, and the movie flops and doesn't make money, even loses money, and they never make second or third or fourth installment in the movie because the movie was terrible. But it was terrible. The idea was good, but it was terrible because you you dedicated the entire movie to setting up the sequels. You do not do that, right? And they didn't do this with Halloween. The second movie was kind of like that, and but it really ties up good with the first movie, and I'm sure it's a great setup for the third one. I cannot wait to see the third one. That's how good setup was. The rest of the cast did great job in this movie as well. I was surprised with some comebacks of original roles and actors, and I loved it. I mean, they actually brought original roles from the 1978 movie. I mean, they bring back the characters and original actors who play them. It was fantastic. It was really brilliant. It was one of my favorite things about this movie. The killings are awesome. I mean, they're very creative, surprising, which is very important, bloody, and just great. Overall, great. I loved it. I mean, that first scene that you see in the trailer, with firefighters and Myers. Ah, that was mind blowing. It was perfect opening scene. It was really, really, really good. Judy Greer as Laurie's daughter was good in the first movie from 2018, but she was great in this one. She was the center of the movie instead of Laurie, and kind of this movie is from her perspective, and it was really done very good. And she really is a wonderful actress. The ending was great, unexpected, totally unexpected for me. For the moment, I thought, oh, they will not go there. Oh, but they did, and I like that decision. I mean, it was really. I honestly didn't think they will go there. And as the scene kind of developed in front of you, you think like, no, oh, are they gonna go do this? And they did, and it was magnificent. And then there was another moment when I thought, oh no, I can't believe they will go there, but they didn't go there, and it was also good because they didn't go there. I cannot talk about it without spoiling it, but you will know what moment I'm talking about when you see the movie, or if you saw it already. I mean, I'm sure you do know. There was this one moment that you think, "Oh my God!" I mean, I cannot believe they're gonna end it like this. They're gonna do things like this. It involves Mike Myers. So, but yeah, fortunately, they didn't. And there are not many things I didn't like in this movie, Maybe just a general storyline, but considering that this movie is a setup for the big finale, I guess it was okay. I didn't quite understood the couple who was living in Michael Myers' house. They knew the history of the house and they were kind of proud of it. I figured that the house needs to be in this movie, and that is somehow, I believe, very important for the story, especially the final movie. They were kind of beating us over the head with this, of just repeating how important this house is for Myers, and the house was like a character on its own in the movie. So I can smell the third act of the third movie here. Big showdown, and it's gonna happen in the house as where all started. It's gonna be kind of nice closing the circle. It all started in that house, and it will all end. But let's see, maybe they decide to go the other way. But I strongly assume that this is how they picture it, and that's why they keep keep putting this house all over this movie. Mike McDonald, the actor who is playing one of the guys, it's a gay couple who is living in the house, and he's not my favorite. I have to say, he was one of the annoying parts of the movie. He keeps popping up in Melissa McCarthy's movies often, and he's never good. I always cringe when he's on the screen. I don't know why, maybe just my preference. I mean, I hear he's a great guy in real life, but it's just the way he acts and the way he appears on the screen, the way he talks. It's always awkward to me. It's always kind of cringy. I'm like, I can't wait for his scenes to go away. All right. So I'm just like, okay, I would rather see a bloody killing than Mike McDonald act. So that says a lot. Nevertheless, all the house scenes and killings were fantastic. So there are a few killings in the house, and they were all great, great. I have no objection on that. One thing that kept taking me out of the story, and it was so annoying, was the angry mob storyline, which I still don't understand why was that there. Uh, uh, it took a huge chunk of the movie. I couldn't see the reason, and it has no effect on the story at all. It was just there for no reason, like a filler. There's absolutely no point to have an angry mob in the movie. And without angry mob story, it would be a perfect movie. Really, really, it would be, to me, it would be a perfect movie if you just cut out those scenes and that plot, if it's possible, and just put together whatever is rest. Uh, uh, it will be excellent movie, excellent movie. Overall, I like this movie. I'm a big fan of Halloween franchise. It is my favorite slasher franchise, just slightly above Scream, just slightly above Scream, and which is also coming back to us with all the old cast and fourth movie, and it should come out in January next year. And I don't know why I mean, these type of movies should be kept for Halloween season, and but I don't know, January is such a bad month for movies. I mean, who goes in January to watch movies? But again, it's a free slot, and I guess Scream took it, and they will go with it, and I'll be watching for sure. I mean, come on, Scream with original cast, yes, sign me up. At the end of the day, I'm recommending Halloween Kills for you to watch, and for everybody who love slasher movies to watch for Halloween season, or just to watch on any Saturday evening or any day. It's a good movie. You will not regret your time spending with this movie, and you will set up. I'm sure you will set up yourself for the great finale of the third one in this trilogy. And if there is any other slasher movie you would like to watch, I made also a whole list of 34 best slasher movies to watch, and you can find this video on my channel. So check it out, guys. If you want to see something but you don't want to see Halloween, or you don't want to see Scream, there's many movies out there. They're brilliant movies of this genre that you can watch, and you can check that video on my channel. Um, so I'm looking forward to to read your comments, guys, in down below. please tell me and share your experience of this movie, of Halloween movies, and what did you think? What was your favorite scenes about this? What was your storyline? Did you hate it? Many people didn't like it at all, and I understand that. So please just feel free to share whatever you feel, whatever you think, and in the comments, and we can continue our discussion there about this movie. The third story for this episode of Movie Talk is about the new Spider Man trailer. I mentioned this at the beginning, so here we are. We're going to talk about this new Spider Man trailer. And the new, it's called Spider Man No Way Home. And it's probably, and I'm also almost sure about this, that this is the most anticipated movie of the year. You know, it has this hype like that it's not going away ever since like January or whenever it started, and it really taking over the internet. And I'm one of those fans that is super excited about this movie. And again, after Eternals, this was my second most anticipated movie of the year, and this is and we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it soon. So this movie is announced as multiverse movie where a lots of unexpected characters will show up. Fans are speculating for a long time who will appear in it and what will happen with them in the movie. Just knowing that all three Spider-Man from all three installment of Spider-Man will show up in one movie is epic. Not to mention all of the cool villains that will also appear in this movie. It's multiverse movie, so everything is possible. But I'm sensing that movie is not only to please the audience with cameos, but there will be complicated and emotional storylines that will be memorable in this genre for many years to come. I just have a feeling that this movie is not just an ordinary movie, and not just because all three Spider-Men will show up and some villains and some other things. I mean, yes, that alone is very interesting and worth watching, but still, I believe that there's more depth in this movie, and their storyline will continue. This is again another setup movie, but smartly one. Uh, um, that's supposed to set up Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness and Wanda movie that comes out next year. So this movie is like a Infinity War to Doctor Stranger's Endgame movie, and it's all connected. If all the assumption and buzz who is going to show up in this Spider-Man movie and what will happen are true, it's going to be very hard and difficult for Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness to be even more epic, to upstage Spider-Man. I think maybe if they put cameos of X-Men in it, or I don't know, at least one or two, like I know Wolverine, Hugh Jackman Wolverine to show up, that will be like mind blowing. I will start screaming in the theater. But I don't know what their plan is with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But again, it will be hard to top what's gonna happen in Spider-Man No Way Home movie. And then let's see. I don't want to talk about until I see at least a trailer or something about the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But or at least until I see Spider-Man No Way Home, and there will be post-credit scenes. I'm sure they're gonna blow our minds. But let's see what's gonna happen. And now I just want to focus on this movie, on this trailer. Actually, I didn't see the movie. No one did. But Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, what a cool title, by the way, don't you think? It's like Spider-Man No Way Home, and I guess he cannot find his way home from the multiverse. I don't know. Let's see. There are a lot of trailer reactions, videos on YouTube, and trailer breakdowns and analysis of this new trailer. And I'm not gonna do that. I mean, if you wanna watch someone reacting to the trailer, or someone give breakdown of every scene and every frame and give you the assumption, there's many fakes. Some people like adding Spider-Mans, like digitally adding Spider-Man into the trailer, making pictures of it like three Spider-Mans, which is not in the trailer, of course. so they're all fakes. But yeah, if you like that, just go ahead and see that. I want to talk about something else that intrigued me. I love the trailer and everything about this. I mean, it just it just hyped me so much. To cannot wait to see it. But there is one thing that I wish to talk about. One shot in the trailer that intrigued my mind, and that's the shot when MJ is falling down from the building and Spider-Man is reaching out to save her. Now that's a very just like a few seconds of the trailer, and it's not even the most talked about shot from the trailer. But to me, I don't know. It tells me so much, and it gives me so much to think about that I have to talk about this. Now, before I move on, there will be spoilers for previous movies and possible spoilers for this one. So I don't know if you any of you guys there didn't see the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, but you should. And so I will not hold back, and I will spoil some of these movie. And my theory could be possible spoiler for this one, but it's still a theory. But if you want to be surprised, maybe you should ignore this part of the story that I'm gonna share. So first of all, falling girlfriend scene is kind of like a signature for every Spider-Man out there, right? So the famous eyes reflection falling from Tobey Maguire Spider-Man with Kirsten Dunst as MJ. There was this scene that is focused on Spider-Man's head, and in his reflection, in his eyes, you see screaming MJ, falling somewhere. And then it was in the trailer, it was in the posters, it was a very big thing back in the day. And so it happened to be a bridge fight where she falls, but of course, as a happy ending Hollywood movie, she was saved. She was successfully rescued by Toby, and then their love story continues to next movies. I mean, it was one of the main shots from Spider-Man, that first Spider-Man, and almost as famous as the upside down kissing scene that they have, which was again to this day the iconic scene from Spider-Man. I can still see on Twitter and on TikTok like people reenacting this scene, and then they reenact in the most funny and sometimes inappropriate ways, but still, it's a classic scene. So when the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man Amazing Spider-Man movies came out, right? They have the similar falling scene, and it was advertised also like that. But this time it was with Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. However, this scene is famous for Spider-Man not being able to rescue his girlfriend, his love interest. Same as Tobey Maguire saved Kristen Dunst. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man did not manage to save Emma Stone, right? So and she died. She was killed. She died. He tried, and it was kind of his fault, not entirely, but kind of his fault because she died. This to me, when I remember when I watched this and I was in shock. I was like, oh my, they did that. I mean, I cannot believe. Well, take her to the hospital. You kind of like screaming in your mind, like, oh, give her mouth to mouth. She's gonna start breathing any moment. But she didn't. She's gone. And I believe they planned this because Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield didn't have his trilogy. He only had two movies. So I believe their plan was to, in the third movie, they kind of go deep into that guilt of his and this self-worth, and then was he worthy to be a Spider-Man, and the struggle, emotional struggle inside of him. And I believe that was the main plot of this movie that never happened, the third movie. And the poor guy never got the redemption. He never got to tell his story. He never got the closure he deserved, I believe. And I have to say again, the Andrew Garfield, I love all three of them. Tom Holland is so good in his role, and and Tobey Maguire was the first one, and I was so happy to watch him a long, long time ago on the screen. But Andrew Garfield was and is kind of my favorite. The Spider-Man, how I picture him from the comic books and how he looks in the comic books, that's Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. So now with the third Tom Holland Spider-Man, in this trilogy, I'm sure it's not going to be trilogy. It's going to be many more Spider-Man movies, but let's say this is like a trilogy. This is the third movie. So where are we going to get the multiverse version and all three Spider-Mans in one movie, which again is epic on its own. But again, we have a falling girlfriend scene, and I suspect there's a big, big reason for that. It's not just to copy the trademark of the previous movies. I firmly believe that rescuing MJ from falling death is purposely set up for Andrew Garfield Spider Man to save her. I mean, just think about this. This will be his redemption scene that he never got. The trailer is made in a way that it looks like all Spider-Man are Tom Holland, like all Spider-Man in costumes in scenes were are Tom Holland behind them, but we know for a fact that they are not. And there are a few scenes where we can tell that other two Spider-Mans are digitally removed from the scene. So we can see when MJ starts falling that there is a hand reaching out for the rescue. And I'm almost sure that this will be Garfield. I mean, whoever thought of that is a genius. Absolutely love that twist. If I'm mistaken, and this is actually Tom Holland that will be that rescuing her, I mean, that will be the biggest missed opportunity of the movie, of all Spider-Man movies. I mean, this would be perfect. But if I'm right, and it is Garfield that saves MJ, and it is him that finally get that closure he needs, and in Spider-Man movie, I mean, that's gonna be emotional. That's gonna be super super emotional, and I better bring tissues with me because there's possibility it will turn into a cry fest for me in the cinema. So I don't know. I don't know what to say more. What do you think about the trailer, guys? And do you think my assumption and my hinge is correct? And did you thought of this when you saw the trailer? And do you think it's a good idea or do you think it's a bad idea? Uh, what do you think? Who is your favorite? I mean, whatever you like to share, please put down in your comments. I would really love to see that I'm maybe not alone in this assumption of mine. So yeah, please just put your thoughts down below. Put your I don't know, predictions or maybe wishes. How would you like to this movie to go? And yeah, we can continue our discussions in the comments. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more movies, for more movie talks to come very soon. I highly appreciate your support by subscribing and by liking the videos and by commenting on it. You will make more people see this my channel and see my videos. And if there's anything you guys would like me to talk about, I will be more than happy to. And that's it. Have a great day and see you in the next video. Bye.